The first time my senior executive team summoned me to a meeting, I remember being confused, anxious, and baffled. Why was I included? We had more experienced team members. This must be a mistake. As I sat down in that conference room, I did my very best impersonation of being invisible. The conversation went out in front of me, and I allowed my inexperience and my fear to keep me frozen in place. I was an average of 20 years younger than the men in that room. And on that day, in that moment, I proved to them and myself that I did not belong. When I walked out of that conference room, one of our senior executives pulled me aside. Very seriously, he said, you're capable, but that wasn't it. Figure it out. We in our professional world value experience, which can be really disheartening for the young, because the only way to gain experience is to age, and that takes time. But I don't think we actually value experience. We value what experience gives us, which is wisdom. You see, experience is touching something hot, and wisdom is knowing not to touch the hot thing. But what's great for us here today is you don't have to get burned to know not to touch something hot. Wisdom can be learned vicariously. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 pieces of wisdom, tips, or advice. And while you may lack firsthand experience, you can take these tips, apply them to your career to show up and make an impact. I want you to think about the first time you went to someplace new. How'd you feel? Were you anxious? Were you timid? Were you really optimistic? Did you scroll Instagram endlessly to find out where you had to go, what you had to eat? Probably so. You see, the difference between good and great is preparation. Preparation gives us the foundational knowledge in order to be confident and manage situations we're uncomfortable with. Preparation is doing research, doing your homework, and showing up. I want you to be prepared. Of course, being prepared in the corporate world isn't always possible. Sometimes you're pulled into something cold on the fly as they pass your office. And in those moments, I want to challenge you to be an observer. An observer is someone who is actively listening, seeking to understand. They're watching the room. An observer is a unique skill, and it's very different than being a participant. A participant is looking for their next move, their next moment to interject, or their next moment in the spotlight. You see, being an observer, you get the freedom to watch everyone else make their next moment. As an observer, you can use silence as an opportunity to gain more information. In silence, people often feel the need to fill that silence with words. And it's through this additional transparency you can understand a lot more. But let's be really clear. Being an observer is not being invisible. You see, being invisible is just blending in. Being an observer is someone who's engaged. They are actively taking notes, following along with their eyes, and nodding along. As we're working on our observation skills, I want to challenge you to remain curious. How many of you have seen Ted Lasso? For those of you who haven't, I've watched very little TV in my life. You're truly missing out. In Ted Lasso, one of the primary antagonist characters, Rupert, the ex-husband of a rival football club, and generally the antithesis of Ted's perpetual optimism, Ted and Rupert are challenged to a game of darts. When Ted asks Rupert to play, Rupert asks this one question: do you like darts? Ted said, they're okay. As Rupert pulls out his professional dart kit that he keeps in his suit pocket, he tries to make a wager on the game. Rupert believed that because Ted said darts are just okay, that Ted was average at darts. As Ted's winning the game of darts, he turns to Rupert and he says, you know, I've been underestimated my entire life and judged superficially. And then he quotes a Walt Whitman quote I want us to all take to heart: be curious, not judgmental. You see, if Rupert had been genuinely curious about Ted and about what Ted thought about darts, he would have asked additional questions for understanding. But he didn't, because Rupert only cared about the outcome for Rupert. Rupert wanted to win. And this scene applies to more than just darts, right? Curiosity can help us understand different things. And when we have curiosity and we build understanding, then we can be more successful. So I want us to be curious, to ask questions when we don't know. But when we do know, we need to own that. Confidence is a scale. I understand that. Sometimes you will have more and sometimes you will have less. But in the big moments, you need to show up for yourself, because no one will show up for you. Self-advocacy is a key to being a truly successful person. But self-advocacy isn't a big ego trip. It's something different. It's quieter and it's gentler. It's the opportunity, often on a one-on-one basis, to tell people and to show them what you're really good at. And it's in these moments of being your own cheerleader, projecting confidence, and being confident that you build yourself up for the next role or the next thing. You see, if we limit our aptitude, it becomes reality. But if we aim for more, we get more. I want us all to aim for more. So in the moments where it matters and you don't know how to do the new thing or the difficult thing or the hard thing, say yes and figure it out. As we're striving to figure it out, I want us to be really open to criticism. Failure is inevitable, but thankfully, failure is not final. I run a lot with a Peloton instructor, Bex Gentry, and she says something about failure that I think is remarkable. Fail. First attempt in learning. I like that, and that's how I want to look at failure. Failure really is an opportunity for us to learn from what we've done and then take new things into what we can do. It's a springboard for opportunity. In your critics, you will find people that care deeply about you. And I say that because if someone doesn't care, they are indifferent. And indifference is often silence. They neither say the things you did well or the things you did poorly. So I want you to seek out the people that are willing to be uncomfortably honest with you, because it's through their transparency that you will find the ability to change outcomes and challenge your own beliefs. And as you're changing your outcomes and your own beliefs, I want you to remember to be present. Once I was in a meeting with my CEO. We were one-on-one, and his office is really large and really deep. And we were sitting by his desk, and we were chatting. About 20 minutes in, he looked at me, And he nodded his head, and he said, "You got somewhere else you need to be?" I didn't, and I told him that much. But as I look back on that experience, I realized that my body language told him a different story. You see, I was uncomfortable. I sat in that really hard chair in his office, and I certainly fidgeted. I played with my hands. I shifted back and forth. And I lacked eye contact, right? I was nervous. One-on-one with a CEO in your 20s, that's a lot. As I left that experience, I realized that it's these moments, these encounters, that we need to show up for ourselves in a really meaningful way. We need to be present, and you know what that means? That means you need to make meaningful eye contact. You need to put your phone, you need to set it aside. You need to not fidget, and you need to make sure that the body language you are sending out matches your intentions. Because when it doesn't, it can be misinterpreted as disengagement. I cannot imagine a more dangerous situation than a CEO thinking that you're disengaged because you're nervous. So don't be me in that moment. Show up for yourself in each and every encounter. When we connect with other people, we build trust. And there's not an attorney here or anyone else or anywhere else that will tell you that there is a single more important skill. If as counsel you are not trusted, then you cannot be valuable. To be valuable counsel, we have to have the cornerstone of trust. So be present. Show people that they matter and that they mean something to you. And when you're being present, I want you to do the most dangerous thing that an attorney can ever do. Ask for help. Asking for help can look really different. It can be asking for bodies on your team because you know the desired outcome is not possible without change. Asking for help might mean seeking mentors that have different skills or different opportunities to help challenge and grow you. Honestly, I've asked for both throughout my career. And because of that, I have been able to hone my craft and make my skill as an attorney better. It's through their feedback and the opportunities that gave me that I was able to be where I am today. You see, asking for help isn't failure. Asking for help is really knowing that something has to change. And I hope today that we can all realize, as you go back to your world, that change is important. And I want to say that I took all of this in, and it immediately, in the next executive session, it all clicked, right? Like, it was super easy to put this into action. But you see, that would be a lie. Over time, I overcame my own insecurities and my belief that my inexperience meant I was less valuable. Experience is important, but wisdom is also important. You see, in order to be valuable, you have to show up and make an impact. And so as you're going back to your jobs and to your careers, I hope you can aim to be prepared, to be an observer, to be curious, to be confident or project confidence, to be open to criticism, to be present, and to ask for help. Because it's through these 7 things that you can show up and make an impact in your career.